And Senator Sanders, are you with us?
I'm right here.
Hey, so your thoughts?
Well, let me share my congratulations with Ellen and all of those people who for so many years have been advocating for equality in this country and for gay rights. Today is a momentous day for them, and they deserve everything that they have won today. Tom, when I reflect on this issue and so many other issues, what it tells me is that when people come together in large numbers to stand up for dignity and decency and democracy and civil rights, we end up winning. And it doesn't happen overnight. What Ellen just told you is she has been at this work for,
45 years.
45 years.
Yeah.
And I could tell you, 45 years ago, this was not a particularly popular issue.
Right.
But what happens is that when you stand up and fight and you get your ideas out to the American people, decency often prevails. And that's certainly the case here. And I think you have a Supreme Court that looks around the country and says, you know what? This is the right thing to do. We cannot maintain discriminatory practices in this country. So it's a great day for the civil rights movement, for the gay rights movement, and we applaud all of them for their hard work. But, it reminds me, Tom, there was a poll done in the Wall Street Journal a few days ago, and some of the results were really quite astounding. And it's a similar point to the point that we're talking about now on gay rights. The people of the country in this poll were asked their views on whether or not we should expand Social Security benefits. Now, as you'll remember, a few years ago, all of the discussion was, well, how much should we cut Social Security?
Right.
Should we do a chain CPI and lower cost of living adjustment? Should we raise the retirement age to 123? What should we do? And by overwhelming numbers, people are now saying, oh, no, elderly people are hurting. We need to expand Social Security benefits, and the way you do that is to lift the cap on taxable income, which is now only at $118,000. Huge victory. A few years ago, Tom, if you and I were on the phone, you and I have been long advocates for raising the minimum wage.
Yeah.
And the Democrats in the Congress were very, very courageous and very brave. They said, well, we're going to go up to $10.10 an hour. Oh, boy. Well, poll asked the American people, what do you think about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour? American people said, yeah, by a pretty good majority.
Yep.
So in other words, what's the point? Whether it is gay rights and gay marriage, whether it is Social Security benefits, whether it is the minimum wage, whether it is asking the wealthy and the powerful to start paying their fair share of taxes, whether it is making sure that every worker in this country has family and medical leave, whether we have pay equity for women workers, whether we create the millions of jobs we need by rebuilding our infrastructure, all of these ideas, which a few years ago were seemingly so very radical ideas, well, you know what? They're mainstream ideas because they're common sense ideas. And when you get the opportunity to talk to the American people, they say, of course, youth unemployment, there was a study that came out a couple of weeks ago by the Economic Policy Institute, which is one of the better think tanks in the country. And we asked them to take a look at real youth unemployment for those young people 17 to 20 who are unemployed or given up looking for work or working part-time when they want to work full-time. And the numbers that came back are almost beyond comprehension. For white and Hispanic kids, it is over 30%. For African-American youth, it is over 50%, 51%.
Oh, my.
So these are issues that we have to deal with. And much of the stuff that I talk about, that you talk about, and people say, well, that's great, you're courageous, you're raising this banner high. No, this is kind of common sense, popular ideas that the American people want to see implemented. But what you have in Congress right now is you have a Republican Party which is pushing the ideology of the Koch brothers and other extreme right-wing billionaires, whose idea of dealing with income and wealth inequality is to give well over $200 billion in tax breaks to the top 0.2% by eliminating the estate tax. Their idea in terms of minimum wage is to do away with the concept of minimum wage, so that in high unemployment areas you have people working for $3 or $4 an hour. Their concept of jobs is to expand disastrous trade policies so that companies in this country can shut down and move to China and other low-wage countries. That's their idea of how you create jobs. Their idea is of tax reform is to lower taxes for the wealthiest people in this country rather than ask them to stop paying their fair share of taxes. So when you really are able to get out to the American people, instead of wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and education and give tax breaks to the rich and large corporations, what the American people say is exactly the opposite. No, we want to create jobs. We want to raise the minimum wage. We want pay equity for women workers. And we want the wealthy not only not to get more tax breaks, but to, in fact, to start paying their fair share of taxes. So it is very interesting where the American people are on the issues, and increasingly in issues like gay marriage, as opposed to where the Congress is, especially our right-wing Republican colleagues. So today was a great day in terms of marriage equality. I think it's going to transform America. Very important issue. Obviously, today there are at least one funeral in Charleston with regard to that horrendous tragedy, unbelievable, of a guy walking into a Bible study class and after praying or discussing the Bible for an hour, taking out a gun and shooting down 9 innocent people, unspeakable. And the good news is that in the South and elsewhere, there is an understanding that that Confederate flag is, for many people, tragically, a symbol of a racist past being used by a lot of extreme right-wing hate groups. And I think we're making progress in getting that symbol of that Confederate flag and that symbol of racism taken down. But I believe that while obviously we have to do that, what we do have to understand is that economically, the African American community, Hispanic community, has fallen further and further behind in recent years since the Wall Street crash in terms of the disparity between whites and minorities. That's growing. And we have to address an issue that nobody is talking about, and that is this horrendously high unemployment rate for black and minority youth and white youth as well. And that's why we're working on a major jobs program for our young people. So those are a few of the issues that have been out there this week.
There you go.